What would you do if the person who humiliated you yesterday had to bow before you today? When a proud black woman walks into a hospital seeking help and gets denied because of her skin color, no one expected what came next. This story will make you question everything about justice, pride, and karma. Before we begin, if you believe in standing up against injustice, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell because stories like this remind us that power, grace, and revenge are sometimes the same thing. The fluorescent lights hummed softly above the emergency room corridor, their sterile brightness bouncing off the white-tiled floor like reflected ice. The hospital reeked of antiseptic and quiet arrogance. Patients sat hunched in chairs, clutching forms, whispering prayers, hoping someone would notice them. Among them sat Danielle Moore, a 32-year-old black woman, her breathing shallow and uneven. Sweat glistened on her forehead as she held her side in pain. She had come straight from her small business downtown. Her restaurant, More Flavor, had been her dream for 10 years. But dreams didn't matter right now. Pain pulsed through her ribs like a drumbeat. She walked up to the counter and handed over her insurance card, her voice shaking slightly. "Ma'am, I need to see a doctor, please. It feels like something's tearing inside." The receptionist didn't even look up. Her acrylic nails tapped the keyboard lazily, her tone flat. "Have a seat." "Someone will be with you shortly," Danielle nodded, biting her lip. Minutes turned into an hour. Her pain worsened. She returned to the desk, clutching her side. "Please," she whispered, "I really think it's serious." The receptionist finally looked up. "Ma'am, you'll have to wait your turn. Others are ahead of you." Her tone shifted slightly as she added under her breath, "You people always exaggerate." Danielle froze. "You people." She'd heard that before. A phrase disguised as a whisper but meant as a weapon. She swallowed the pain, both physical and emotional, and returned to her seat. When her name was finally called, the doctor didn't even make eye contact. Dr. Peterson, tall, white, early 40s, with a sharp jawline and sharper attitude, motioned her inside the examination room without a greeting. "What seems to be the issue?" he asked, already scribbling notes without looking at her. Danielle tried to explain her symptoms, the stabbing sensation, the difficulty breathing, but halfway through, he cut her off. "Have you been drinking, smoking, using any recreational drugs?" he asked, each word laced with suspicion. Her eyes widened. "No, I run a restaurant." "I don't even drink coffee." He raised an eyebrow. Well, we'll do a quick check, but this doesn't sound serious." He tapped a few buttons, scheduled an x-ray, but when the nurse came in, Dr. Peterson waved her off. "Actually, it's probably anxiety or muscle strain. She doesn't need imaging. Just prescribe ibuprofen." The nurse looked uncertain but obeyed. Danielle's stomach turned. "Doctor, I can't even stand up straight." "Please, I know my body." "Miss Moore," he interrupted coldly, "there are patients who need real attention. You'll be fine." The words stung worse than the pain. She walked out of that room humiliated, dismissed, and angry, not just for herself, but for every time someone like her had been made to feel invisible. But fate wasn't done. That night, her pain escalated. She collapsed on her kitchen floor. The ambulance rushed her, ironically, to the same hospital. But this time, another doctor on call discovered what Dr. Peterson had missed: a ruptured appendix and internal infection. She needed emergency surgery. If she'd waited any longer, she might have died. When she woke up post-surgery, her vision blurred by morphine, she overheard two nurses whispering outside her curtain. "Isn't she the one Dr. Peterson sent home earlier?" "Yeah. She could have died because of him. Administration's gonna have a field day with that." Danielle didn't say a word. She stared at the ceiling, feeling both fury and clarity. Over the next few weeks, while recovering, she didn't just rest, she planned. She'd always been more than what people assumed. Her restaurant wasn't her only asset. Before her culinary career, she'd studied business and finance. Her late father had left her part of his investment firm, a fact few knew. That firm specialized in healthcare real estate. And coincidentally, the very hospital that turned her away was up for acquisition, burdened by lawsuits, low morale, and poor management. She saw the news one morning and felt a slow, burning smile spread across her face. They think I'm powerless, she thought. Let's see how powerless I really am. Weeks passed. Danielle met with her father's old partner, Mr. Langford, a seasoned investor who'd always believed in her. You're serious about this? He asked over coffee. Dead serious, she replied. That hospital humiliated me, but I don't want revenge, I want change. I want to own it, fix it, and make sure no one gets treated like I was. Langford leaned back, impressed. You realize this could cost millions. Danielle smirked. Then it's a good thing I have millions. They formed a shell company, Phoenix Healthcare Group. Within 2 months, Danielle quietly purchased a controlling share of the hospital. The paperwork was finalized on a Monday. By Thursday, the hospital board meeting was set for introductions to the new owner. That Thursday morning, the air in the boardroom buzzed with rumors. Doctors whispered, administrators speculated, and Dr. Peterson, looking particularly self-assured, was busy charming the outgoing chairman. I hear the new owner's from some big firm, he said with a smug grin. Let's hope they don't meddle too much. We've got a system that works. Yeah, another doctor laughed. For you, maybe. The double doors opened. Silence fell. Danielle stepped in, wearing a tailored navy blue suit, her hair pulled back, confidence radiating off her like heat. For a split second, Peterson's smirk froze, his face drained of color. Good morning, Danielle said, her voice steady and resonant. I'm Danielle Moore. As of today, I'm the new majority owner of St. Helens Medical Center. A stunned silence. Peterson's jaw tightened. You're the new? Yes, she cut in smoothly. I was also your patient last month. The one you refused to treat. The boardroom collectively inhaled. She didn't stop there. Don't worry, Dr. Peterson. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to clean up this hospital. To make it fair, compassionate, and accountable. Starting with an internal review of all malpractice cases. Her gaze locked with his. Including yours. The room went dead silent. He stammered. You can't. I can, she replied calmly. And I will. What followed over the next few days would make headlines across the city. Danielle implemented sweeping reforms, patient care initiatives, diversity training, and an anonymous reporting system for discrimination. She reinstated nurses who'd been unfairly terminated and partnered with minority-owned suppliers for hospital contracts. The same receptionist who'd ignored her before tried to avoid her in the hallway. Danielle approached her one afternoon. Everyone deserves a second chance, she said quietly. Use yours wisely, but karma had its own rhythm. Peterson, under review for multiple complaints, was suspended pending investigation. Word spread quickly. Reporters camped outside, eager for comment. He tried to confront Danielle privately, his voice trembling between anger and desperation. You've ruined me, he said. No, she replied softly. You ruined yourself. I just gave the truth a stage. That night, Danielle walked the halls of the hospital she now owned. The same halls where she had once been ignored, dismissed, nearly killed by neglect. But now, every step she took echoed with purpose. As she paused by the emergency entrance, she whispered to herself, never again. But just as she thought peace had arrived, something unexpected happened, something that would twist everything she thought she knew about revenge, forgiveness, and fate. Because behind the hospital's sale, behind the paperwork, behind her victory, someone else had been pulling strings. Someone who wanted her there not just to lead, but to uncover something darker. And as the clock struck midnight, a call came to her private line. Miss Moore, a voice said quietly, you don't know the whole truth about that doctor. Or this hospital. Danielle froze, her hand tightening around the phone. What do you mean? The line clicked. Silence. Her heart pounded. The air felt heavier. Something about that call felt wrong. And just like that, her victory began to unravel into mystery. The silence after that phone call was unnerving. Danielle stood in her office, the city skyline glowing faintly through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The hospital at night had a strange hum like a living thing, whispering secrets through its vents. She tried to shake it off, convincing herself it was just nerves. Owning a hospital wasn't like running a restaurant. It came with politics, power struggles, and hidden enemies. Still, something about that voice echoed in her mind, steady, calm, knowing, you don't know the whole truth about that doctor or this hospital. She saved the number on her phone and tried calling back. The number you have dialed is not in service. Her stomach nodded. The next morning, she walked through the lobby, her heels clicking on marble. Patients lined up at registration, nurses moved quickly, and for the first time since taking over, the energy felt different, hopeful, lighter. People were beginning to trust again. Yet, behind every smile, she sensed tension. Staff whispered more than they worked. Departments were quiet, too quiet. It was as if the hospital itself was holding its breath. Later that day, her assistant, an energetic woman named Rosa Jenkins, knocked on her door. Ms. Moore? You asked for the financial reports. Thanks, Rosa. Leave them there. Rosa hesitated. You should know something. The hospital's old records before your purchase, some of them are missing. Danielle looked up sharply. Missing? Yes, ma'am. Files from around 2018 to 2020. Patient records, financial ledgers, even donor lists. It's strange. Danielle frowned. Could they have been archived? Rosa shook her head. We checked. The system says they were deleted manually. Danielle leaned back, mind racing. Who deletes financial data and patient records? Get me IT, she said firmly, and have security review access logs. As Rosa hurried out, Danielle's phone buzzed. A private number again. She hesitated, then answered. Hello? A male voice, this time low, almost distorted. You're in danger, Ms. Moore. They won't let you fix this hospital. Who are you? She demanded. They built their careers on the lies buried in those missing records. If you dig too deep, you'll end up like the last person who tried. Who was that? She pressed. Silence. Then a single name. Dr. Avery. The line went dead. Danielle froze. She had seen that name earlier in an internal memo doctor. Susan Avery, the hospital's former chief of surgery, who'd resigned suddenly 3 years ago after a confidential settlement. But now she realized something else. Dr. Avery hadn't resigned. She'd vanished. That night, Danielle stayed late, pulling up archived news reports, internal communications, anything she could find. Her instincts told her this wasn't just about medical negligence, it was something bigger. Then she found it, a short, forgotten article from a local paper. Prominent surgeon missing after dispute with hospital administration. St. Helens Medical Center declines to comment. Her pulse quickened. At 11:47 p.m., someone knocked on her office door. She jumped slightly. Who's there? It's me, Rosa, came the reply. Danielle opened the door, and Rosa stepped in, clutching a small USB drive. You'll want to see this, she whispered. One of the IT guys pulled it from a backup server before it was wiped. It's dated 2020. They plugged it in. A folder appeared. Confidential, do not share. Inside were scanned reports, financial transactions, patient invoices, and autopsy results. Rosa's voice trembled. Look at this one. The report showed a young black woman, age 27. Cause of death. Post-operative complications, cardiac arrest. But next to it was a handwritten note. Patient administered wrong dosage override authorized by Dr. Peterson. Danielle's heart stopped. That can't be, she whispered. He overrode safety protocol. Rosa nodded grimly. That's not all. Look at the timestamp. It was signed off by administration, meaning they knew. The next document made Danielle's stomach twist. It wasn't just one case, it was dozens. Black and minority patients flagged as non-compliant, given reduced care, were denied certain treatments. And at the center of every approval, Dr. Peterson. Rosa covered her mouth. This is systemic discrimination buried under medical jargon. Danielle stared at the screen, rage building in her chest. They called it negligence. But it's criminal? She spent the next few days quietly gathering proof emails, deleted memos, whistleblower forms. She even found a letter from Dr. Avery herself, unsent but saved in the system. If anything happens to me, know that I tried to expose what they were doing. They're using patient statistics to manipulate funding, and anyone who questions it gets erased." The letter ended abruptly, unfinished. By Friday, Danielle had enough evidence to confront the board. She scheduled an emergency meeting. When she walked in, every executive was already seated tight, smiles, wary eyes. Peterson sat near the end, pretending calm but visibly sweating. "Thank you for coming," Danielle began. "I've reviewed the hospital's historical files. What I found is disturbing." The CFO, an older man named Charles Denton, interjected quickly. "Ms. Moore, we've already been over legacy records." "Whatever you found, I'm sure it's outdated." "It's not outdated," she cut in sharply. "It's murder disguised as error." Murmurs rippled across the room. Peterson paled. Danielle projected a slide on the screen: names, dates, causes of death. These were patients, mostly people of color, who died under suspiciously similar circumstances. The same physician signed off on all of them. And this hospital covered it up to protect its reputation. Peterson slammed his hand on the table. "You can't prove anything." She turned toward him, her eyes cold. "Can't I?" She held up the USB drive. "This came from your own system," he glared, his composure cracking. "You think you're some hero? You have no idea who you're dealing with." "Then enlighten me," she said. He leaned forward, voice low. "You think I acted alone? You're walking into a machine that's been running for decades. Every hospital, every board, every donor, you'll never stop it." Danielle's heart pounded, but she didn't flinch. "We'll see." Security escorted him out as the board fell into chaos, some shouting for an audit, others demanding silence. By evening, she'd received her first legal threat, a formal letter warning her to cease dissemination of confidential materials. But it was too late. The story had leaked. Someone inside the boardroom had sent the documents to a journalist. The next morning, the headline dominated the news. "Discrimination and negligence scandal rocks St. Helens Hospital, whistleblower owner vows reform." Public outrage exploded. Reporters surrounded the hospital. Patients protested outside. Peterson disappeared. Days later, police found his car abandoned by a river, but no sign of him. Then Danielle received another call. Same number as before. "Now you see," the voice said softly. "He wasn't the only one. Look deeper." "Who are you?" she demanded again. A pause. Then, "Someone who owes Dr. Avery their life." The line cut off. Danielle sat frozen, realizing this wasn't just about one corrupt doctor. This was a web of conspiracy stretching far beyond the hospital. The deeper she dug, the more dangerous it became. That night, while reviewing files alone, the lights flickered. She glanced up, unease prickling her neck. The security feed on her monitor blinked, one camera after another going dark. "Rosa?" She called out. No answer. A chill crawled down her spine. She stepped into the hallway, empty, silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Then, from the far end of the corridor, she saw a shadow move. "Hello?" she said, her voice echoing. No response. She took a step forward, and a voice whispered from behind her. "Stop looking, Danielle." She spun around, but no one was there. Her phone buzzed again. A text this time.